The message came at exactly midnight Earth time. Every screen on the planet flickered at once. Every phone, every television, every computer display showed the same image. A tall creature with gray skin and four eyes stared into billions of human faces. Admiral stood in the command center of Earth's Defense Force. He watched the alien's face with no expression. Around him, dozens of officers stopped their work. The room became very quiet. The alien spoke. Its voice was deep and cold. "People of Earth, I am High Commander of the Empire. Your planet has been selected for conquest. You have 7 Earth days to surrender. If you do not surrender, we will take your world by force. This is not a request. This is not a discussion. This is your only warning." The screens went dark. Then normal broadcasts returned, but nothing was normal anymore. Captain walked to Admiral's side. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and short black hair. She had served under for 15 years. In all that time, she had never seen him afraid. She did not see fear now either. "Sir," she said quietly, "what are your orders?" Did not answer immediately. He looked at the main screen, which now showed Earth from space. Blue oceans, green lands, white clouds, his home, everyone's home. "Contact the World Council," he finally said. "We need to meet, now." Within 3 hours, the leaders of every nation gathered through video link. Presidents, prime ministers, generals, scientists, all of them looked worried. Some looked terrified. The alien message had changed everything. Admiral stood before them all. "You have all seen the message," he began. "The Empire has declared war on Earth. They give us 7 days to surrender." "Then we must surrender," said one leader immediately. "We cannot fight aliens. We do not even know how powerful they are." "We know enough," replied calmly. "Our satellites have been watching. Their fleet contains approximately 200 warships. They are currently positioned near Mars." 200 warships, another leader exclaimed. "We have nothing that can fight warships." Looked at Captain, she nodded slightly, then turned back to the screen. "That is not entirely true," he said. The room went silent again. Every leader stared at the Admiral. 40 years ago," continued, "humanity made first contact with alien life. It was it was a small trading vessel that crashed in the Pacific Ocean. We kept it secret. We studied their technology, and we prepared." "Prepared for what?" someone asked. "For this moment," answered. "For the day when someone would come to take our world." He pressed a button on his control panel. The main screen changed. It showed images that no civilian had ever seen. Ships, human ships, but they were unlike anything built before. Sleek and powerful, hidden in bases beneath the ocean and inside mountains. "We have a fleet," said. 347 vessels. We have weapons that use energy, not bullets. We have shields that can stop missiles. We have been building for 40 years, waiting and hoping we would never need to use them." The leaders were speechless. Some looked angry that this secret had been kept from them. Others looked relieved. A few even smiled. "Why tell us now?" one leader demanded. "Why keep this secret for so long?" "Because knowledge of our fleet could have caused panic," explained. "It could have started conflicts, wars between nations trying to control the technology. We decided long ago that this secret would only be revealed when Earth faced a common enemy." Captain stepped forward. "We have spent decades training pilots and soldiers. They are ready. The fleet is ready. We can fight." "But can we win?" someone asked. Did not answer that question directly. They have conquered many worlds. They believe all species are weak compared to them. They think humans are soft creatures who will break easily. They do not know our history. He changed the screen again. Now it showed images from Earth's past, wars, battles, soldiers fighting in mud and snow and burning cities, humans killing other humans, humans surviving impossible situations. "We have been fighting since the beginning of our species," said. We have fought each other for land, for resources, for ideas. We have survived ice ages and plagues and disasters. We are not a peaceful species. We are survivors. We are warriors. You sound almost proud of that, one leader observed. I am not proud of humanity's violence, admitted, but I am proud of our strength, our determination, our refusal to die quietly. They do not understand what they have challenged. They see a small planet. They see creatures without claws or natural weapons. They see weakness. He paused and looked directly at the camera. They are wrong. Captain added, our analysts have studied every piece of data we have on them. They have won many wars, but they have always fought species that surrendered quickly, species that could not imagine fighting back. They have never faced a species like humans. What happens if we lose? A leader asked quietly. His face hardened. We will not lose, but if the worst happens, we will make them pay such a price that they will never threaten another world again. We will show the galaxy that Earth is not a target. Earth is a trap. The meeting continued for many more hours. Plans were discussed. Resources were organized. The whole world would work together for the first time in history. Every factory, every scientist, every soldier would contribute. As dawn broke over the Pacific, Admiral stood on the deck of a secret naval base. Ships were rising from the water, real warships designed to fight in space. Pilots ran to their stations. Engineers checked every system. Captain joined him. The people are scared, she said. They should be, replied. War is coming, fear is natural. But they are also angry, continued. I have seen the reports. People are not demanding surrender. They are demanding weapons. They want to fight. Allowed himself a small smile. That is the human spirit. We do not surrender. We do not give up. We fight. They will learn that soon enough. Above them, the first ships entered the atmosphere, climbing toward space, toward the enemy, toward the battle that would decide the fate of Earth. The war had not yet started, but humanity was already refusing to be conquered. High Commander stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Eternal Conquest. Through the massive windows, he could see the blue planet called Earth, such a small world, such weak creatures living on it. His second officer, a female named, approached him. Commander, our scouts have reported movement from the planet's surface. Made a sound of amusement. Let me guess. Their primitive flying machines are gathering, perhaps some of their water vessels as well. Actually, Commander, the scouts report unusual ships, ships that do not match any known human technology. Turned to look at her, his 4 eyes narrowed. Explain. Activated a display screen. Images appeared showing sleek vessels rising from Earth's surface. They moved faster than anything humans should possess. Their design was unfamiliar. These were detected leaving hidden bases across the planet, reported. We count over 300 vessels so far. For a moment said nothing, then he laughed. The deep sound echoed across the bridge. 300 vessels, he repeated. We have conquered species with 3,000 warships. These humans have been hiding toys in their basements. It changes nothing. Should we adjust our battle plans? Asked. No, decided. We will proceed as planned. Give them credit for having some spirit. Most species simply surrender when they see our fleet. At least these humans will provide some entertainment. He walked to the center of the bridge and addressed his officers. Listen carefully. I have conquered 47 worlds. I have faced armies and fleets in desperate last stands. The humans will be no different. They are soft creatures. They have no natural armor, no claws, no venom. They cannot survive in extreme temperatures. A single soldier is worth 50 of their warriors. The officers nodded in agreement. They had all heard the reports about humans, weak bodies, short lives, dependent on machines and tools for everything. Within 3 days, Earth will belong to the Empire, declared. Within a month, the humans will be working in our mines. Send a message to the home world. Tell them to prepare the colonization ships. Meanwhile, on a distant observation post, two young soldiers watched the human fleet forming. "Look at them," one said. His name was, "They actually think they can fight us." His companion studied the screen more carefully. "Their ships are strange. I have never seen designs like that." "Stolen technology," probably guessed. "Perhaps they captured some trader vessel in it badly. It does not matter. Commander has never lost a battle." "Never," agreed, but something in his voice sounded uncertain. On Earth, Lieutenant sat in the pilot's seat of her fighter. The cockpit was small but comfortable. Every system glowed with ready lights. She had trained for this moment for 8 years. Every simulation, every exercise, all leading to today. Her communication device crackled. "All pilots, this is Admiral. The enemy fleet is approaching. Remember your training. Remember why we fight. We are not fighting for glory or conquest. We are fighting for our home, for our families, for every human who has ever lived and every human who will ever live." Closed her eyes for a moment. She thought of her mother in, her younger brother who wanted to be a teacher, the small apartment where she grew up. Everything she loved was behind her, everything she fought for. "Understood, Admiral," she responded with the other pilots. Her voice was steady. Captain's voice came next. "Fighter squadrons will engage first. Your job is to break their formation and test their defenses. Do not be heroes. Gather information. Find weaknesses. We will need that data for the main battle." The human fleet arranged itself between Earth and the approaching enemy. 347 ships faced 200 warships. On paper, it looked like a fair fight, but they had centuries of experience. Humans were fighting their first space battle. Back on the Eternal Conquest, Commander received a new report. "The humans have arranged themselves in a defensive formation," his tactical officer announced. "Standard pattern, nothing creative." Nodded, as expected. They learned their tactics from old war movies probably. "Order the fleet to advance. Standard attack formation. Let us end this quickly." The ships moved forward. Their formation was perfect. Every ship knew its role. They had performed this dance of destruction many times before. "Commander," said, studying her displays, "I am detecting unusual energy readings from the human ships." "Unusual how?" "Their power output is much higher than our estimates suggested. Their shields appear to be fully active. Their weapons are charging." Waved his hand dismissively. "Numbers on a screen. Let us see how their shields handle our weapons in reality." He gave the order to fire. Hundreds of energy beams shot toward the human fleet, bright lines of death crossing the darkness of space. On any other world, this would be the moment of victory. This would be when the enemy ships exploded and burned. But the human shields held. The energy beams struck and scattered. Blue light flashed across the human formation. Every ship shook. Some shields flickered, but none failed. "Impossible," the tactical officer whispered. Stared at the display. "Fire again, full power." Another wave of weapons fire. Another flash of defensive shields. Still, the human ships remained intact. "Their shields are adapting," reported, her voice now worried. "They are analyzing our weapon frequencies and adjusting." "Adapting," repeated. "That requires technology we have not seen outside the core worlds." The human fleet began to move, not retreating, advancing. Their formation shifted, becoming something they did not recognize. Small fighters shot forward in groups. Larger ships provided cover fire. Everything moved together like a single organism. Lieutenant pushed her fighter to maximum speed. Around her, her squadron flew in perfect formation. They had practiced this thousands of times. Now they performed it for real. "Target the weapon systems," her squadron leader ordered, just like training. Locked onto an enemy ship, her targeting computer found the weak points. She fired. The ship's weapons array exploded. The ship did not die, but it could no longer fight effectively. All around the battlefield, similar scenes repeated. Human fighters swarmed like insects, striking precisely and retreating before the enemy could respond. On the Eternal Conquest, alarms began to sound. "We have lost weapons on 12 ships," an officer reported. "Fighter squadrons are being overwhelmed." Could not believe what he was seeing. These primitive humans were not supposed to fight like this. They were not supposed to have technology like this. They were supposed to be easy prey. "All ships full attack," he commanded. "Stop holding back, destroy them all." The fleet charged forward, abandoning careful tactics for raw aggression. They still outnumbered the humans in firepower. They could still win through sheer force. But as the two fleets collided, something became clear to everyone watching. The humans were not afraid. They were not confused. They moved with purpose and precision. They had conquered 47 worlds, but they had never faced anything like this. The real battle was just beginning. Deep beneath the mountains of Korea, Commander watched the battle unfold on massive screens. The facility around him had existed for 30 years. Only a handful of people knew it was here. This was humanity's true command center. The place where Earth's secret defense had been built, piece by piece, year by year. "First engagement successful," Captain reported through the communication link. "Enemy formation is disrupted. They are regrouping." "Good," replied. His voice was calm and measured. "Phase 1 is complete. Begin Phase 2. Across the planet, hidden doors opened. More ships rose from oceans and emerged from mountain bases. Ground defense systems activated. Satellites that had pretended to be communication relays revealed their true nature as weapons platforms. Lieutenant and her squadron returned to their carrier ship for refueling. Her hands were shaking slightly, not from fear but from the intense focus of combat. She had hit her targets. She had survived, but the battle was far from over. "Good work out there," her squadron leader said. He was only 28 years old, but his eyes looked older. "Rest while you can. We go back out in 30 minutes. Nodded and climbed out of her cockpit. Around her, technicians swarmed over the fighters, refueling, repairing, preparing. Everyone moved with speed and purpose. In the command center, Commander studied the tactical displays. They were powerful, but they fought in predictable patterns. They relied on overwhelming force and intimidation. They expected enemies to panic and make mistakes. Humans did not panic easily. Humans had spent their entire history fighting against impossible odds. They had evolved to handle stress and fear and chaos. "Commander," a young officer called out. She was one of the analysts who had spent years studying alien tactics. "The enemy flagship is moving to the center of their formation. I believe High Commander is preparing a direct assault." Nodded. "He is getting frustrated." "Good. Frustrated commanders make mistakes." "Should we reinforce the center line?" "No," decided. "Let him commit, show him what he expects to see, then surprise him." The order went out to the fleet. Ships in the center began a slow retreat, not running away but pulling back, creating space, inviting the enemy forward. On the Eternal Conquest, Commander saw the human retreat and felt satisfaction. Finally, they were breaking. Finally, they understood they could not win. "All ships pursue," he ordered. "Do not let them escape." The fleet surged forward, chasing the retreating humans. Their formation stretched as faster ships pulled ahead of slower ones. This was exactly what wanted. "Now," said quietly. The human ships stopped retreating. Ships that had been hiding behind Earth's moon suddenly appeared. More vessels emerged from asteroid positions where they had been waiting. The retreating center reformed and held firm. The fleet was surrounded. "What is this?" demanded, staring at his tactical display in disbelief. "Commander, enemy ships on all sides," reported. "We are trapped." The human fleet attacked from every direction. Energy weapons fired in coordinated waves. missiles launched in patterns designed to overwhelm defense systems. Fighter squadrons dove through gaps in the enemy formation, targeting critical systems. Lieutenant was back in her cockpit, flying with her squadron toward a battleship. The massive enemy vessel filled her view. Its weapons fired at her, but she dodged with movements that would have been impossible for any ship built before humanity's secret program. Target the engine section, commanded. Same approach as Simulation 7. Knew Simulation 7 by heart. She had run it hundreds of times. Now she flew it for real, weaving between enemy fire, waiting for the perfect moment. She fired. Her shots joined those of her squadron mates. Together, they hit the exact weak point in the enemy ship's armor. The engine section exploded in a burst of blue flame. The battleship began to drift, powerless. Across the battlefield, similar scenes repeated. Human pilots who had trained for years executed perfect attacks. Human warships coordinated with precision that should have been impossible for a species fighting its first space war. Commander watched the enemy fleet slowly breaking apart. Ships tried to retreat but found human vessels blocking their path. Ships tried to regroup but were separated by coordinated attacks. Commander is trying to reach his flagship's escape pod, reported. Do not let him escape, ordered, but do not destroy his ship either, not yet. Captain understood immediately. You want to capture him. I want him to see, replied. I want him to understand what he challenged. Then I want him to tell his empire exactly what happened here. The battle continued for hours, but the outcome was already decided. The fleet, which had never lost a major engagement, was being systematically destroyed. Ship after ship fell to human weapons. Thousands of soldiers died in the cold darkness of space. On Earth, people watched the battle through satellite feeds. News channels broadcast footage of human ships fighting alien invaders. For the first time in history, all of humanity watched the same event together. Billions of hearts beat with fear and hope. In's mother sat in front of her television. She did not know her daughter was in the battle. She did not know that one of those small fighters carried her child. But she felt something, a mother's instinct. She clasped her hands together and prayed. In New York, people gathered in the streets despite the danger. They watched the battle on giant screens meant for advertisements. When a ship exploded, they cheered. When a human ship was hit, they went quiet. They were watching their species fight for survival. In Tokyo, scientists monitored data from the battlefield. Every piece of information was recorded and analyzed. Even in the middle of war, humans were learning, adapting, improving. That was the true power of humanity, not their ships or weapons, their ability to learn, to grow, to become better, faster, stronger. In a single battle, human tactics evolved multiple times. Strategies that failed were abandoned. Strategies that worked were shared instantly across the fleet. They had never faced an enemy like this, an enemy that grew stronger as the battle continued. Commander allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. The plan was working. 40 years of preparation were paying off, but he knew the battle was not yet won. The enemy still had strength. Commander was still alive. All ships, broadcast to the fleet, press the attack. Do not give them time to recover. Show them the price of threatening our home. In her fighter, Lieutenant heard the commander's words. She was exhausted. Her muscles ached. Her mind was tired from hours of combat, but she pushed forward. One more attack, one more enemy destroyed. She thought of her brother who wanted to be a teacher. She thought of classrooms full of children. Children who would have futures because of what she was doing right now. For Earth, she whispered to herself. Her fighter dove toward another enemy ship. Around her, hundreds of human pilots did the same. The awakening was complete. Humanity had risen from its hiding place, and the galaxy would never look at Earth the same way again. General Jin stood in the loading bay of the assault carrier. Around him, 500 soldiers waited in their combat suits. These were Earth's finest warriors, soldiers from every nation, trained together in secret facilities, ready for this exact moment. "Listen up," Jin called out. His voice was loud and clear despite the noise of the ship. "Our pilots have broken the enemy fleet, but this battle is not over. Commander is trapped on his flagship with 2,000 soldiers. Our mission is to board that ship, capture the commander, and secure the vessel." The soldiers stood in perfect silence. They had trained for boarding operations for years. They knew the layout of ships from stolen data. They knew how fought, how they moved, how they thought. "Remember," Jin continued, "we want alive. Everyone else is fair game. Move fast. Stay together. Trust your training." "Yes, General," 500 voices answered as one. The assault carrier moved toward the crippled flagship. Human ships provided cover, keeping any remaining enemy vessels away. Lieutenant and her squadron flew escort, watching for threats. In space, the battle was entering its final phase. The once proud fleet was reduced to scattered groups of damaged ships. Some tried to flee but were hunted down. Some tried to surrender but communication signals were jammed. The humans were not accepting surrender yet, not until the flagship was secured. Pilot watched the assault carrier approach the enemy flagship. She was one of the best pilots in the fleet, commanding a squadron of bombers. Her job was to punch holes in the flagship's hull so the soldiers could board. "All bombers target the marked sections," she ordered. "Precision shots only. We don't want to destroy the whole ship." Her squadron acknowledged. 12 bombers lined up and fired simultaneously. The flagship's hull cracked open in 3 places. Air rushed out. Emergency seals tried to close the breaches but were overwhelmed. "Holes are open," reported. "General Jin, you are clear to board." "Copy that," Jin replied. "All teams go." Hundreds of soldiers launched from the assault carrier in small boarding pods. The pods shot across the space between the ships and crashed through the openings had created. Each pod carried 10 soldiers into the heart of enemy territory. General Jin was in the first pod. He felt the impact as they penetrated the hull, then the strange shift of artificial gravity taking hold. The pod doors blasted open. He charged out with his rifle ready. A soldier appeared in front of him. The alien was tall, nearly 3 meters, with thick gray skin and 4 blazing eyes. It raised a weapon. Jin was faster. He fired twice. The fell. "Move, move, move," Jin shouted. His team flowed around him, securing the corridor. More appeared and more fell. Throughout the flagship, similar battles erupted. Human soldiers moved in coordinated teams, clearing room after room. They fought hard. They were physically stronger than humans. Their weapons were powerful, but humans had something they lacked. They had spent their entire evolutionary history fighting. Every human soldier knew how to handle fear. They knew how to push through pain. They knew how to make decisions in chaos. Their ancestors had survived ice ages and predators and each other. That survival instinct was built into their very cells. They were conquerors, but they had become soft. Victory had always come easy. They expected enemies to crumble. When enemies fought back hard, they did not know how to respond. A young soldier named found himself separated from his team in a dark corridor. 3 blocked his path. They clicked their mandibles in what might have been amusement. 3 against 1. Easy odds for them. Did not hesitate. He fired at the ceiling lights, plunging the corridor into darkness. They had 4 eyes, but they needed light to see, just like humans. His helmet had infrared vision. He could see them. They could not see him. He moved through the darkness like a ghost. 3 shots, 3 bodies falling, then silence. "Team 4, this is. Corridor 7 is clear. Moving to rejoin." On the bridge of the flagship, Commander heard the sounds of battle approaching. His guards formed a wall around him. 20 of his best soldiers, armed with the finest weapons the Empire had. "They will not take me," growled. "I have never surrendered. I will not start today." But doubt crept into his mind. How had this happened? How had these primitive creatures beaten his fleet? They were supposed to be weak. They were supposed to be easy. The intelligence reports had been clear. The bridge doors exploded inward. Smoke filled the room, could not see. He heard gunfire and screams. Bodies fell around him, his guards were dying. Then silence. When the smoke cleared, General Jin stood in the center of the bridge. His soldiers surrounded him, weapons trained on the survivors. 20 guards lay dead or wounded. Only a handful of officers remained standing. "High Commander," Jin said calmly, "you are now a prisoner of Earth. Your war is over." Stared at the human with disbelief. Jin was smaller than any of his guards, covered in dust and blood. One human, standing victorious over the commander who had conquered 47 worlds. Hao managed to ask. Jin walked closer. He showed no fear, even standing before a being twice his size. "You underestimated us. You thought size and strength were everything. You forgot that evolution does not favor the strongest. It favors those who adapt, who survive, who refuse to die. You are just animals," spat. "Your entire species is primitive." Jin smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "Yes, we are animals, predator animals. We evolved on a death world, Commander. Everything on our planet tries to kill us. The weather, the diseases, each other. We survived it all. Did you really think you would be any different?" Outside, the battle was ending. The last ships were disabled or destroyed. Human vessels circled the battlefield, collecting escape pods and survivors. Medical ships moved to help the wounded on both sides. Admiral received the report from General Jin. Flagship secured. Commander captured. Minimal casualties. Closed his eyes for a moment. Relief washed over him. They had won. Against all expectations, against an enemy who had never lost, humanity had won its first space battle. Captain stood beside him. "Orders, Admiral." "Begin rescue operations," said. "Collect every survivor human and treat their wounded. We are not savages. We are not monsters. We fight hard, but we do not forget mercy." Across the fleet, the order spread. Soldiers who had just been killing now worked to save lives. Medical teams treated alien injuries they had never seen before. Translators tried to communicate with frightened survivors. Lieutenant landed her fighter in the carrier bay. She climbed out on shaking legs. Around her, pilots were hugging each other. Some were crying. They had survived. They had won. Walked over to her. "You did good out there. Your family would be proud." Thought of her mother thought of her brother. They did not know she had been in the battle. They did not know she had helped save the world. "I just did what I was trained to do," she said quietly. That's what heroes always say. The sun rose over Earth. A new day began. Somewhere in the wreckage of the fleet, a transmission was still broadcasting. A distress signal that would reach the Empire in a few weeks. A signal that would tell them something impossible had happened. The humans had won. 72 hours after the battle began, the Empire received its final transmission from the invasion fleet. The message was not sent by High Commander. It was sent by the humans who had captured him. Commander stood before a camera in the broadcast center. Behind him, through massive windows, the wreckage of the fleet drifted in space. Broken ships, scattered debris, silent monuments to a failed invasion. "People of the Empire," began. His voice was calm and measured. He spoke clearly so the translation systems could process his words. "3 days ago, your fleet arrived at our world with demands of surrender. You gave us 7 days to submit or be destroyed." He paused, letting the words sink in. "We did not need 7 days. We needed 3. The camera shifted to show the captured flagship. Human soldiers stood guard while prisoners were escorted to holding areas. Commander himself appeared on screen, bound and defeated. The most successful commander in Imperial history, brought low by creatures he had called primitive. Your fleet is destroyed, continued. Your commander is our prisoner. Your soldiers are either dead or in our custody. Your invasion has failed completely. Across the empire, this broadcast would spread. Every citizen would see their undefeated military humiliated by a species they had never heard of. Every general would study the battle footage and wonder how it was possible. Every politician would demand answers that did not exist. We did not ask for this war, said. We did not seek conflict with your people. We were content to live on our small blue world watching the stars. You came to us with violence. You came with threats and demands. You treated us like prey. His eyes hardened. The calm voice gained an edge. That was a mistake. Humanity does not start wars, but we finish them. We have fought each other for thousands of years. We have survived every challenge our universe could create. Ice ages, plagues, disasters, predators. We survived it all because we refused to give up. We refused to surrender. We refused to die. Admiral entered the frame. He stood beside, representing the military might that had crushed the invasion. Let this be a warning to your empire, said, and to any other power watching this broadcast. Earth is not a target. Earth is not weak. Earth is the home of 7 billion warriors, 7 billion survivors. We welcomed your declaration of war. It was your last act as a galactic power. The broadcast continued with footage from the battle, ships exploding, human fighters swarming through enemy formations, soldiers boarding the flagship, being captured. Then came footage that shocked the galaxy even more. Human medical teams treating wounded, prisoners being given food and water, the wounded commander receiving care despite being an enemy. We could have killed every one of your soldiers, his voice explained over the images. We could have destroyed every ship with no survivors. We chose mercy, not because we are weak, because we understand something your empire has forgotten. True strength includes compassion. True power includes restraint. The emperor watched the broadcast in his throne room. His advisors stood around him in terrified silence. No one dared to speak. The emperor was ancient, nearly 1,000 years old. He had seen the empire grow from a single planet to hundreds of worlds. He had watched countless species fall to his fleets. He had believed the empire was invincible. Now he watched primitive humans lecture his people about strength and mercy. He watched his finest commander sitting in chains. He watched everything he believed crumble to dust. How many ships would it take to conquer them now? He asked quietly. His military advisor hesitated. Majesty, based on this battle, we estimate they could defeat a fleet of 500 ships. To guarantee victory, we would need at least 2,000 warships. And how long would that take to assemble? 18 months, perhaps 2 years. The emperor nodded slowly. And in that time, what would the humans do? No one answered. They all knew. The humans would prepare. They would build more ships. They would improve their technology. They would become even more dangerous. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal. The secret was out now. Everyone knew about the hidden fleet, about the 40 years of preparation, about the soldiers and pilots who had saved humanity. The world celebrated its heroes. Lieutenant finally went home too. Her mother cried when she saw her. Her brother looked at her with new eyes, understanding that his sister had helped save the world. You were up there, her mother said through tears, fighting those monsters. Why didn't you tell me? Held her mother close. I couldn't, it was secret, but it's over now, Mom, we're safe. General Jin received medals and honors, but he refused to be called a hero. We all fought together, he insisted in interviews. Every soldier, every pilot, every person who built our ships and designed our weapons. Humanity won this battle, not any single person. Commander returned to his mountain base, already planning for the future. They would not forget this defeat. Someday they might try again. Earth needed to be ready. We need to expand the fleet, he told Captain. Double our numbers within 5 years, triple them within 10. Nodded. The world is united now. Resources won't be a problem. Every nation wants to contribute. Good, because this was just the beginning. The galaxy knows about us now. Some will fear us. Some will want to trade with us. And some will want revenge for what we did to the... Months later, the first alien trading vessels arrived at Earth. They were not. They were members of smaller species, species that had lived in fear of the Empire for centuries. They came with gifts and offers of friendship. "We watched your battle," one ambassador said. She was a small being with blue skin and large, gentle eyes. Her name was untranslatable, but humans called her friend. "We have waited generations for someone to stand against the Empire. We thought it would never happen." Received her in the Mountain Command Center. "The Empire attacked us. We defended ourselves, nothing more." "Nothing more," friends seemed amused. "You destroyed their pride. You captured their greatest commander. You showed the galaxy that they can be beaten. For billions of people on hundreds of worlds, that means everything." Word spread across the stars. The story of Earth. The story of the small blue world that defeated an empire. Other species began to resist demands. Rebellions started on conquered planets. The Empire's grip weakened. High Commander remained a prisoner on Earth for 2 years. He was treated well, given comfortable quarters and good food. Sometimes human officers came to talk with him. They asked questions about the galaxy, about other species, about the Empire's weaknesses. Answered most questions. He had nothing left to lose. His career was over. His reputation was destroyed. But slowly, something changed in him. He began to understand these creatures who had defeated him. He watched human children playing in parks below his window. He saw families eating together. He observed the way humans argued and laughed and lived. They were not monsters. They were not demons. They were simply survivors like every other species in the universe. On the day of his release, stood before one final time. "What will you do now?" asked. "Return home, face whatever punishment awaits." Paused. "But first I will tell them. I will tell them what you really are, not weak, not primitive, not prey, just dangerous, very, very dangerous." Nodded. "Make sure they understand. Earth never starts wars." "But you finish them," completed the sentence. "Yes, I understand now. The galaxy will remember this lesson." He boarded a ship back to his. His final report to the Empire became legendary. A warning passed down through generations. A lesson taught in military academies across the stars. Never attack Earth. Never threaten humans. Never mistake kindness for weakness. Because on that small blue world, surrounded by hostile space, lived a species forged by endless conflict. A species that had been preparing for war since before they could walk upright. A species that would never, ever surrender. The Empire declared battle against humanity. It was their last act as a major power. And the galaxy would never forget it.